In this video, I'll be going through my artist study of the illustrator Ask. Ask is a phenomenal artist whose work has been a huge inspiration for me. I've done artist studies in the past, taking bits and pieces of inspiration from many other creatives and putting it in my own work. But this time, I want to do something a little different. I wanted to do more than just a study. I wanted to break down the 4 key points I took away from this study, which is dynamic lighting, color, composition and pose, and line art. Let's get into it. One of the first things that blew me away about Ask is their dynamic lighting. Their work feels alive because of the way they use light to create an atmosphere and drama. A thing that I notice is how often they use spotlight and backlight as their main light sources. Here's where I had to challenge myself. Like most artists, I tend to stick to the same kind of lighting setup, probably because it's familiar and it feels safe, but repetition can make your art look predictable. So what I learned is to think more intentionally about how light interacts with both the character and the environment, and don't be afraid to go bold with your lighting. I love Ask's approach to color. Their use of color blends soft gradients with vibrant, saturated hues in the way that achieves a delicate balance between calm and intense. As someone who loves to use saturated colors in their work, I can appreciate their strategic application of bold and saturated colors. These aren't merely like decorative, they serve a purposeful role in guiding the viewer's attention by shaping the emotional tone of the piece. Through their thoughtful use of color, Ask transforms it from a visual element into a powerful storytelling tool, reminding us that color has the capability to influence both perception and narrative. My overall take from learning from Ask and how they choose colors is maybe don't just wing it, which is what I usually do, and just figure out what looks good and be more intentional. Moving on to composition and pose, which I feel is Ask's biggest strength. Every piece feels like it's in motion even if it's completely still, and I know everyone has seen and has heard the rule of thirds, the spiral, the golden triangles, but they actually implement it in their work, unlike, at least I can speak for myself, I don't. It's like you know these rules in the back of your head, but you don't really use them in practice, which I know I'm really bad with. And beyond that, their poses feel expressive, full of emotion, and always feel natural. So when planning my own study, I focused on creating a pose that not only felt true to my style, but also carried the same sense of movement. And it's easy to copy a pose, but applying the same principle to your own work, that's where the real learning happens. So overall, when planning your own pieces, think about how the pose and composition can tell a story beyond what's immediately visible. And finally, line art. I noticed that their line weights vary depending on the piece. For some works, the outer lines are thicker while the inner lines are thinner. Other times, parts of the line art disappear, adding to the depth and dimension. So when I worked on my piece, I kept asking myself, how can I balance the structure and how can I make every line more purposeful? It was challenging, but very worth it. For my attempt, I chose a promotional piece from Ask Arknights series. The composition and lighting were so dynamic and I knew this would be the perfect challenge. Instead of directly copying it, I used my VTuber model as the figure. Let me tell you, it took multiple sketches to get it right. Then came the line art, which took forever, but I was really happy of how it turned out. One thing I wish I did different is definitely, you'll see it later on when I get to the coloring of the couch and shading it, but I wish I put more weight into the couch so it looks like I'm sinking into it. That's one thing I would have done differently, but here are the brushes I used, but if it's really not necessary. You can get it done with like a regular round brush, maybe in a soft brush, and that's it. Doing the couch was probably like my favorite part. I don't know, it was like really therapeutic, and I was just taking my time and getting it done. I was like watching like a movie and some anime while doing this. Definitely was watching Arcane, but I really like doing this process. It was really nice, and I really like how it came out. I got into actually rendering my character, which I just took everything piece by piece, and I really like how it came out, especially like the skin tone. I think I could have done better on like the stomach region. Definitely on rendering it, I could have probably put more detail, which is another thing I would have changed. But then I put kind of all the base colors of everything down and just see how the colors worked with one another. I also went back and went over and painted over some of my line art to give it more of a painterly style. And finally, the background. I won't lie to you guys, I just went to Clip Studio Paint's shop and found a 3D staircase to put in the background because I despise drawing backgrounds, even though I've been forcing myself to get out of my comfort zone and do environmental art. But for this piece, I just plugged it in and then, you know, added some colors so it could mesh in and blurred it out. I really like the final of this. I'm really proud of it. I learned a lot from this study, and I want to do more stuff like this in the future. If you're still here, I want to thank you for watching the video, and if you want to connect with me and other amazing creatives, join my Discord community. We share art and tips and so much more, and recently we're doing an art prompt of the week, so go check that out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more videos like this, because I plan on doing more things like this in the future.